Hello, lovely and beautiful people. Thank you for tuning in today. I wanted to talk a little bit today about some of the physical aspects that people experience while on their grief journey. And whether we are experiencing the grief journey or we are a friend or a companion to someone as they are experiencing this journey, it's beneficial to understand that emotion not only shows up in the emotional and mental plane, but it also is experienced in our physicality. I did a video a while ago talking about how when we experience physical pain, that it always has an emotional component. And when we think of grief, that's a very intense emotion. And so there's no doubt we're going to feel that within our physicality. With grief too, it's often that we try to prevent the expression of it, try to prevent the moving through it because it's so painful. And in that suppression, we compound the physical aspects that we are experiencing. So some of the things one might experience physically on a grief journey are loss of appetite, interrupted sleep, fatigue, extreme stomach and digestion problems, nausea, headaches. There's even a syndrome called broken heart syndrome, and where we can literally experience pains in our chest, which feels like our heart is breaking. And I can do a video about that specific syndrome another time. Today I wanted to really address the physical aspect of the lungs. In traditional Chinese medicine, every emotion is correlated to a lung. To an organ. And grief is the emotion that is associated with the lungs. And so it's not really a surprise that people who are on a grief journey and experiencing grief quite often suffer from lung problems as they're going through this. So they might be things like chronic bronchitis, asthma, what appears to be new allergies, shortness of breath, and coughing. Now, I would suggest, if you're experiencing these symptoms going through grief, not to disregard them, but to actually have the physical aspect of them addressed by a doctor. And to relate a story, one of my clients who I was helping go through their grieving journey, I was a bereavement companion for them, and he was expressing to me how when his wife first passed away, he got this cough and it wouldn't get better, and it got to the point where he actually passed out at one point because when he would start coughing, he actually couldn't get his breath. And as he was telling me this story, I understood about it affecting the lungs, but I could literally see that the pain that he was experiencing was suffocating, and it was expressing itself through this shortness of breath. And as he related his story, he said to me, and then there was this old nurse at the hospital, and before the doctor even saw me, she told me it was a grief cough. And he said, I disregarded it. What do you think about that? And we were able to have a lovely conversation. But just to relate that grief and also other emotions, but today we're talking about grief, can be so intense that they affect our health. So again, if you are experiencing physical symptoms, it is appropriate to see a doctor, because once our emotions are somatically being expressed, they need to be addressed in the physical realm as well as the mental and emotional realm. And speaking of that, when we're going through the grief journey, it's important to remember that emotional and physical self-care are important. And what that looks like will be very different on your journey. At the beginning, physical self-care might actually just being able to change out of the same clothes that you've been wearing the last couple days. And it might graduate to taking a shower and then going for a walk. But it's a process, and there's no right or wrong way. There's no easy way. So things also for physicality, like exercising and going out in nature. And again, only when and if you feel ready for that. And of course, the emotional aspect, finding those that you love and you feel supported with to talk to. That may mean going to a therapist, somebody like myself, or finding a grief support group. But I would invite you to gently lean into your grief journey. It is our automatic response to avoid, to distract. But you really only have the opportunity to grieve the loss of this person once. And to really lean into that process. And it may feel like your life is falling apart, because it is, and that's okay. But you will put it back together how you choose and when you choose. So until we talk again, please stay safe, hydrated, nourished, and well rested.